is cycles. And so, instead of one big bang, there is infinite amount of bangs, and so it's a continuous creation process, that there's continuous creation occurring at the center of supermassive black holes at the center of galaxies, that they're producing mini black holes we call atoms and so on, so that the universe is actually continuously producing universes and multiverses and so on. And it's because our lifetime and our evolution is so short relative to, cosmological time. We've only observed one bang, and we call it the Big Bang because it's the one we came out of. But that this is occurring all the time, and that it is a continuous creation process, and we are part of this creation. We're part of the information network that produces all that we see, and we can't separate ourselves from it.
When I was a kid, I asked my mother what was God, Nassim, and she said, always was, always will be. Almost like you just said what the universe is.
Right. I think, when you start to look at these physics, the way I'm describing them, I'm sorry.
Sure.
And
I've got you talking for 3 hours, so I'm pushing you. Huh? This is longer than some of your lectures, isn't it?
Yeah, some of them, and I'm known for 13 hours lectures as well.
Good.
But these cultures all around the world, that's what's remarkable, is when you study all their description of what they may call God or the Creator and so on. They all kind of come together in some ways. They talk about this omnipresence. They talk about this infinite potential and so on, this self-organizing system and so on. And when you look at this theory and you start to understand the way the universe, the way it describes it, it actually is very similar, but it gives fundamental mechanics and fundamental physics on how this actually happened. Like people saying it's all one. Well, how is it all one? Well, there's physics that makes that possible, and so on. And so, when you understand the fundamentals of how that's true, then all of a sudden the dogma is lifted, and now you're starting to understand the universe for its fundamental physics and its fundamental creation power. And as you understand them, you can start to play with them. You can start to interact with them in a better way, so you're more harmonious with them. And as well, so that you have all the resources you need, because creation is quite resourceful.
It's exciting to think about the possibilities of all of this, isn't it? My gosh.
Oh, it is. It's amazing because you can see our civilization taking a giant leap in its evolution as it discovers these principles. Because basically, if you fundamentally understand the principles that produces our universe, then you can, bootstrap yourself to it, and the possibilities are, infinite. The possibilities are beyond what we can imagine today in terms of health, transportation, and so on. And I think our civilization is prime for that change.
I think so too. Tell me a little bit about how you can get this DVD, Crossing the Event Horizon.
It is available on our website, and theresonanceproject.org, and people can buy it online there. It's a 4-DVD set. It's over 8 hours of information, including the special features. And it encompasses from the science and the philosophy to ancient civilization, and many examples of the monuments and texts around the world that describe this information. And it has all sorts of interesting bonus features and interviews with my co-author, Dr. Elizabeth Rauscher, and so on.
And there are 4 CDs, right? 4 DVDs.
There's 4 DVDs, and so it's packed with information, and it's a very in-depth view of the whole picture.
Very good. Well, stay with us. We're going to have a final hour to go with you, and we'll take phone calls coming up next on Coast to Coast. Well, as Nassim was just saying, dark energy may not exist. As a matter of fact, now a story breaking in the United Kingdom that the concept of dark energy was created by cosmologists to fit Albert Einstein's general theory of relativity into reality after modern space telescopes discovered that the universe was not behaving as it should. Well, now these 2 scientists, Blake Temple and Joel Smoller, mathematicians at the University of California and the University of Michigan, believe that they've come up with a whole new set of calculations that allow for all the sums to add up without the need for this controversial substance. The research, of course, could change the way astronomers view the composition of our universe. Nassim has been telling us this all along. We'll be back with phone calls next on Coast to Coast AM. Nassim, you might agree with these 2 scientists, these mathematicians, that they say, too, that it looks like dark energy may not exist.
Yes, like I was saying earlier, when your equation is only able to predict 4% or 2% of what you're seeing, you have a choice. You can start inventing all kinds of new stuff, or you can look at your equation and figure out where you made the error. And, I think the latter is the preferred approach, and I'm glad that others are finding that out.
If you had an opportunity to talk with Albert Einstein, what would you talk with him about?
If I could talk to Einstein, I would definitely talk to him about black holes, because his equations is the equation that actually, predicted the existence of black holes, the possibility of black holes. But when it was rendered at his time, he didn't like that answer. He actually wanted to get away from singularity and black holes. He thought that made his equations invalid at that level. And, in general, most physicists thought so too. But they said, well, that part of the curvature, that part of the result, we're going to ignore, and we're just going to take the weak curvature, because they thought we'll never find such an animal. That probably doesn't exist. It's just a function of the math. And then eventually we start to find evidence of black holes in the cosmological world, in the center of galaxies and quasars and all this stuff. And then it's like, wait a minute, there's really black holes out there. They do exist. But Einstein was long gone by then. And so I think that if Einstein would have looked deeper into that possibility of black holes, of singularities, I think he could have solved unification if he would have applied those to the atomic world. But you see, it was so unreasonable to even think that those things existed in the cosmological world at the time, never mind applying that to the atomic level. So even today when I talk to people about atoms being mini black holes, it's kind of shocking.
To the phones we go. You ready?
Yes.
Ann Arbor, Michigan we go. Rod, get us started. Go ahead, Rod.
Yes. Nassim, I have 2 questions. The first is, when you talk about infinite division of space, doesn't this conflict with the Planck volume limit? What is it, 10 to the minus 99 cubic centimeters?
No, 10 to the minus 33 centimeters is the Planck's limit.
That's the length limit. The volume limit would be...
the volume, yes. Well, in the case, what my theory says is that the Planck's limit is actually, one of the limits. It's one of the boundaries. It's the boundary that defines, our world viewed from our scale.
Oh, I see.
But